Something I've been thinking about this week a lot is association. In Proverbs, it talks about this a little bit. Proverbs 13:20 says, if you want to grow in wisdom, spend time with the wise, walk with the wicked, and you'll eventually become just like them. And Proverbs 22:24 says, don't make friends with angry people and do not associate with hot-tempered people, or you may learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare. And there's lots of other verses along these lines. But I've noticed that when I hang out with people that are all about particular television shows, it makes me want to like watch them. And I'm not a big TV guy. I don't watch a lot of shows or a lot of TV. And yeah, well, like I got married. I never drank coffee till I got married, and then I didn't drink coffee for a long time because I'm like, no. As a friend of mine from New Zealand says, it's like poo water. But I'd have a sip of her iced Americanos, and over time it's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll get one for myself. And then I worked in a corporate office where they had a commercial Nespresso machine, and you got to try all the things. I'm like, oh, cappuccinos. My mum used to like, in Australia you make a cappuccino and you put like hot chocolate powder on top and a little bit of raw sugar and it just caramelizes, and it's just so delicious. And so soon I got into cappuccinos, and then there was macchiatos, and then you try espressos, and then you meet people, and then on my team I had baristas who, or barista, if you're American. I know. Anyway, in Australia, Americans are Yanks, and I just had an Australian move in downstairs, so my Australian's been coming out. In America, in Australia, you say Yank, everyone knows you mean American. In America, you say Yank, and people are like, I'm not from New York. So, an Australian moved into my house, and I start being more Australian. Or, I don't even remember what I was talking about now. I was just sharing about ways that I've noticed that I become like the people I'm around. Whether it's like leaders that I'm around, and that shows up in how I lead teams, or people that have a certain self-worth in their sales process, whether it be for their own business or whether they work for a corporation, and then that shows up in how they sell. I've noticed that in myself as well. And I'd like to think that I thought my wife was knocking on the door to tell me to be quiet. She is sleeping just upstairs. I'd like to think that I've got stronger walls than that, but the people around us really affect us. And maybe you're less impressionable than I am. The reason this came up in my mind is, one, I've noticed different ways of being that I've had from being around certain people. I've noticed it in my business that as I spend time with certain business people that are really good at certain pieces of it, I've gotten way better at those pieces. And the word says it. Hang out with the wise, you become wise. Hang out with angry people, you become angry. I've seen it with my son. Like, he was not riding a bike without training wheels. Friends come over and take off the training wheels to ride, and a week later he's riding a bike. And then he's never ridden a skate park, but he sees a skate park, tries it out, and then he makes friends with a boy who comes and rides, and then he's trying all sorts of things at the skate park on his first day at the skate park because his new friend is doing it. So I'm really aware of like, who am I? Who am I choosing to spend my time with, and how's that impacting my life and creating context for my life? As a parent, our kids don't have a choice, but we get to create the context they grow up in. So if I watch TV for hours and sport for hours every evening, that's their context. If I'm never home and I'm off doing stuff, that's their context. If we're never home because we're always out doing something, that's their context. If we're campers, then they like camping. They might grow up not liking it eventually, but if we cook and stuff, then they kind of, whatever we do, they get involved with it. So I guess that's the question, is what context are you setting for the people in your life? Because you're a leader, whether you like it or not, doesn't matter how big the rock is, you throw it in the water and it makes ripples. You're making ripples. At the company or organization or non-profit or ministry that you work for, you're making ripples, whether you like it or not. In your family, in your friend group, you are making ripples, whether you like it or not. You're making ripples. You are affecting people. And if you're anything like me, you tell yourself that you're not, or that it doesn't have as big effect as you think it does. But you get to be a powerful person. God created you in his image. And he told the firstborn human to cultivate and tend the garden before sin. He gave us a job to do. You have a job to do. And then he said, go and have dominion over the whole earth. That command still exists. You're called to have dominion. Life is more than wealth creation, entertainment. You're created for a purpose. You're created for a reason. You're created to have dominion. That's why your heart always says, there's gotta be more. There's gotta be more. Because God did create you for more. He did create me for more. So the more that's longing inside you, ask him about it. God, what do you want me to know? God's told me lately, this is not about you, Chris. This is more than you. You will permission other people to do what I've called them to do. And there's people you're going to help. They're going to be released into what they're meant to do. Okay. What's your purpose? What's your why? Mine is, I was created to empower and inspire people to be their God-given greatness. Because God made you and me in his image, which is great. And then he called you and me kings. Kings. And priests. Kings and priests. There's no condemnation. There's no condemnation. You should not feel condemnation listening to this. But what does he want you to do?